Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Aaron Sisson, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Chem Valley Show. I am your host, and I'll be bringing you through a bunch of episodes here through this 28-day lockdown and hopefully beyond that, as I hopefully can continue to bring on some really cool guests and bring you guys some really interesting interviews throughout the next year here, and who knows, hopefully beyond that. But I'll start off by introducing myself a little bit. I'm from Sarnia, Ontario, Canada, known as Chem Valley, which is why most of my stuff is branded through Chem Valley, just because, it's another name for Sarnia, and I don't want to be like everybody else and use Sarnia as my name. I run a wrestling company called Chem Valley Wrestling here in Sarnia. I'm a promoter. I do lots of different shows. I've brought acts here like Randy and Leahy to the Station Music Hall. That was a few years ago, obviously, before Mr. Leahy passed away. I brought Tyrone here from the Trailer Park Boys, and I brought lots of other really cool acts here as well, including my guest that is going to be joining me here today. I also am a semi-professional football player. I play for the Sarnia Imperials here in Sarnia. That's me last year with the Cookie Cup as we beat the Tri-City Outlaws in that game. Here's another picture with me and my coach this year, me signing. Of course, we didn't get to play because of the pandemic, but yeah. I also played Junior B lacrosse growing up, along with a bunch of other sports. I've always played sports and tried to keep busy, along with hockey, big hockey fan. And right now I'm currently in school for sports and rec management at Lambton College. And I'll stop talking about me. I do have a guest joining me here today on the first episode, and I thought who better to bring on than somebody who I can tell my story with, along with tell you guys a little bit about his story. He's the owner of Rock It Up, both radio and company. He's done something really cool with Rock It Up, which we're going to talk about today. He's a good friend of mine, Darren Flower, joining me now on the Chem Valley Show. You were the very first guest, my friend. Welcome to the show.
I am so honored to do this with you, Aaron. We've known each other for 12 years and have a lot of funny stories under our belt, and we have a very special relationship. I am blessed to know a lot of great people from music and also the radio show. Well, I guess music, but you're definitely one of the most special friends I have. I met you when you were 14. I was 25, and now what are you? 26?
Yeah. 26. Yeah.
You have to think about that. Okay. So we're now grown up and stuff like that, and it's been great to see how far you've come.
Honestly, I've lost track of time. Like, looking back at things today, I just honestly can't even believe it's been as long as it has.
Well, I'm really good with timetables. In fact, I was hoping that maybe I can start off and talk a little bit about our history, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely, for sure.
Okay. So once upon a time in a former life, I used to play in a classic rock revival band called Stone River. And we got this gig that was in Sarnia. It was for a big festival called Sarnia. I guess it was called Bayfest. And I knew nothing about Sarnia up until that point. Well, before Bayfest, we did play a warm-up show at Norm's, but I knew nothing about Sarnia. So anyways, this was July 11th, 2008, a very important day for me, Bayfest. And I remember my guitar player and my high school friend who I started Stone River with, Jeff, this is my recollection, he pointed you out to me. He's like, "Hey, D, come here for a second." D is what my friends call me. He's like, "Look at this kid. He's been handing out Stone River flyers for like the last hour." And I just remember seeing this young 14-year-old fella working his arse off. And I couldn't believe he was doing it. I had no idea that a couple of band members befriended you, 20 minutes, an hour before I met you. But you had this really sad look on your face, I guess because you didn't have enough money to get into Bayfest. But I recall me and Jeff paying, an extra $5 each so that you could buy a ticket, I believe, from a scalper. But
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
my memory.
so if Cameron Crowe, if you're listening, this is a perfect plot
I'm sure
for
he is.
Almost Famous number two.
Yes.
I've been saying it for years, but yeah, what happened was I was sitting there, like I usually did. I always went to Bayfest. I remember I watched lots of great concerts from outside the fence as a kid. I seen
Oh,
Kid Rock, uh, all sorts of great bands that came to Sarnia over the years. I got to watch Through the Fence as I didn't have enough money at the time for a ticket. I did get to go see some concerts, but this one in particular, I knew I loved the Black Crowes and their style of music. And I remember just sitting there and seeing these guys come out. They were handing out flyers. They I believe they came up to me with one, and they were walking away. They were super nice guys. So I thought, you know what? I should go help those guys. I'm not doing anything here anyways. I'm just here to see a concert. I might as well spare some of my time and help these guys out and hand some of their flyers out. So lo and behold, 2 hours later, I probably handed out about 2,000 of those flyers for you
good
guys.
Lord. Well,
And
and that gesture is still very much appreciated, and it still touches my heart. And who would have realized that we would have built such an amazing friendship from that one moment? So what you may not know, or I'm sure I explained it, but you might not remember, or maybe you do, I don't know. We were supposed to play Sarnia in 2009. I had a gig linked up at Norm's, but
yeah,
we had to back out because the singer, little did I know, was going off to Chicago for, I guess, the week that I had the show booked. And the owners explained, if you back out now, you're blackballed from the bar. So I don't know if I told you that story, but yeah, we were supposed to return to Sarnia. We should have returned to Sarnia later that year to have
Norms,
one.
which is now Twisted Arm, by the way. I don't know
Sure.
if you know
No,
of that, but
I didn't.
that's our Sarnia themed Tragically Hip bar.
Wow. Okay, that sounds
Yeah,
lovely.
yeah.
But yeah, so we were supposed to be up there in 2009, but that got kiboshed. And then, so we met in 2008, but kept in contact a little bit until I remember recording an album, the last album for Stone River in 2012, and I think we started becoming a little bit more friendly in around that time when I was in the studio.
Yeah, I believe you reached out to me actually right before that Norm's gig that didn't end up
Probably.
happening, but
Yeah.
I do remember that, and then we kind of kept in contact throughout the writing of that next album. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's most likely what happened. But I felt like we really started to become friendly around 2012, and chatting, and then I approached you to do a radio show for Rock It Up in Sarnia, which you did and did a pretty good job, and found some really cool bands and stuff
Which
like
shout
that.
out to Stephen Dumont for actually
Oh
giving me the
yes,
platform
Stevie.
to do that. I would never. I honestly probably wouldn't be where I am without that radio show or getting that exposure and doing what I did, because I honestly still have people who I went to high school with come up to me and ask me, "Hey, are you still on the radio?" And so that was something really cool that I'll always be thankful for. And
Yeah,
Stevie D is still somebody who I keep in touch with all the
yeah,
time.
me too.
And I'll never forget that night we had the first show you guys came and played here. We had an unforgettable night at the Playfair Music Complex.
I mean, for Rock It Up, you hosted one heck of a radio show, but you also put on some live shows, and I have some very special memories. So Stone River did play the first Rock It Up live concert in Sarnia, which was awesome. I think Time Giant was there. I
believe those were I got into the promoting through my radio show. I actually first went and worked at a bar here in town, which was the Industry Theater. They had a string of 3 shows with the Trues, the Sheepdogs, and 5440. And just those 3 names right there, I knew I had to at least some way get involved with knowing you, because you taught me just knowing people and having a network is really important in this industry. So I reached out to somebody, I believe it was for 5440 where it all began, and ended up getting a job for the weekend with them. And just from there on, I ended up working at all those shows. And at the last show, I believe it was Big Sugar. There was a guy from the band. His name was Friendliness, and he was the keyboard player. And he was kind of standing outside his van. And just like I helped you guys, I seen someone there. Obviously, it looked like he needed something. So I just went up and asked him, were you looking for anything? Did you need a hand with anything? I always tried to do that at that venue, or basically any venue I worked at in the past. I also worked at the Station Music Hall. There's a picture of me there. But anyways, friendliness. He needed something, and I knew he did. So, long story short, he needed some weed. So what I did was brought him across town and found him some before his show. And they had just been, I believe they were in the States before. So it all made sense. And I thought I'd help them out at the time. It wasn't as accessible as it is now. But who would have thought we are where we are with it now? But yeah, that's basically how I got into the promotions, because after that, I ended up throwing a show with his band at the Trinity Lounge. I believe it was on March 30th, which is I was doing my radio show at that time, because I remember, I think it was March 28th, I ended up going on K106 for the day, getting to interview Ozzy Osbourne, and I just got a really cool experience from getting to introduce Sam Roberts to the stage through that. But it was on the 30th, I ended up doing my first ever show. I remember the promoter asked me if I was going to have everything ready for them when they showed up. And I believe the guarantee was something like $1,000. And so, oh yeah, I'll be good. It was my first time doing a show, mind you. And I remember that day the promoter showed up, the manager of the band showed up, and he said, so how are ticket sales going? And I said, I've sold 3. And luckily that night I was promoting through Empty Spaces, which had a really big following here in Sarnia, and I did a pretty good job at promoting the show beforehand. So we had a lot of walk-ups, and long story short, everything was good. But that was my first promoting experience. And then when I met you, or when I kind of got really into things with the radio show, and you gave me the idea, I think, of putting on shows and doing showcases with rock bands, especially at the time. There wasn't a lot going on in Sarnia. So what I did was throw together this, I believe it was a 5 concert series. We called it the Rock It Up Sarnia Summer Concert Series, and it was at the Trinity. And the first night was with you guys, I believe, right?
So memory is a little fuzzy. You were talking about 5-6 years ago. I can't really remember too well.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I do have a lot of pleasant memories of being in Sarnia with the shows that you've hosted. And one of the most special memories from Rock It Up is you put on a show. It was packed. You made a killing. I was like, oh my God, this kid's making more money than I am. And
that was the second one, I believe, with you guys. Yeah.
But this one lovely fella named Matt Weed actually started a Rock It Up chant, and he had the whole place, about 80 to 100 people, chanting Rock It Up. And that was a very special moment for me and for the movement. That's what I consider it. I don't consider it a company. I consider it a movement. And
I remember that, because me and Matt went up there and sung, I think it was Changed by Blind Melon to start off the night. It was do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
Okay, I wish that was on video, because it was awesome. Matt probably remembers.
I have a lot of fun memories about Sarnia. So I guess some people might be a little confused at the point as to what this Rock It Up is. And let me explain for the benefit of those who
why did you start Rock It Up? Let's start off with that. Like, what was the whole reasoning behind starting Rock It Up?
I love telling the story. So what happened is that when I was a younger man, around your age, 26, 27, I wasn't qualified to do anything other than rock. And that doesn't pay the bills so much, or so I thought. So I was working a bunch of Joe Jack jobs. And this particular job, I was working in a truck with criminals and just really nasty people. And I, with a half broken back from a car accident I had.
Axe to the spine.
Yeah. So I decided I can't do this anymore. I got to start my own operation. So Rock It Up actually started in 2011, almost 10 years ago, as guitar lessons. Because all I was hoping to do was guitar lessons. And later that year, I got approached to give volunteer guitar lessons by the president of the University of Toronto Mississauga Campus Music Club. He was in line behind me while I was getting flyers done up for my new business, and he was looking at what I was doing and was intrigued. So when I went to the student center of the University of Toronto, Mississauga campus, that's where I was giving lessons, I
Right.
realized there's a radio station there, and my eyes lit up. I'm like, ooh, this looks, I don't know why I said it like that. I was like, whoa, this looks amazing. This could be a lot of fun, and I'm sure that this could help my networking game, which was non-existent at that time. I was playing in Stone River, and I thought to myself, you know what? I got to do whatever I can to help this band out. And I thought being a radio DJ would help that, and I was very right about that. So yeah, I went in. I filled out a form. I was interviewed by the then station manager. Her name is Hannah, and she actually told me that I was overqualified for this, which is a good feeling because most people think I'm an idiot. You just look at me, you kind of assume, whatever. So that was nice. I got the radio show and started doing interviews, and you know, in the last 9 years, I've interviewed Grammy Award winners like the Kentucky Headhunters, bands that have sold millions of copies, like a former drummer from Pearl Jam, a former bass player from Blind Melon, J Rock from Trailer Park Boys, Charlie Starr from Blackberry Smoke, the lead singer from Crowbar and Down, Kirk Winstein, a few other notable people as well, and a ton of bands. And so over the last 10 years, you know, Rock It Up plays classic rock, not really.
And why did you start it? Did you start it to use it as a platform for your like?
Well, if you were paying attention, which you clearly weren't, you would know that I started it to have a platform.
Right.
You're just busting your chops a little bit. Yes, that's exactly why I did it. I hope Santa brought you some Q-tips this year.
Of course.
You certainly need them. I'm joking. You know I kid with affection. That's what I do. But yeah. No, I wanted to boost my networking game, which was non-existent. I thought it was really important. Originally, I took the radio show to start networking with Ontario bands that sound similar to Stone River, so we could do gig swapping and become buddies and, you know, create our own little scene.
Right.
Which is something that I was hoping to do, and I kind of got that chance to do that over the years. I play a lot of Ontario bands, a lot of Canadian bands as well, too, and also play a lot of international bands. And actually, I think you were the one that kind of gave me the kick in the ass to get on that, because at one point you were playing cool bands from Israel, from Denmark, and I'm like, this kid's doing a better job than I am in certain parts of Rock It Up, and I was a little embarrassed.
Well,
shown up by this young little whippersnapper.
I think you definitely gave me the courage to go ahead and do that. Like, I mean, it wouldn't have started if I didn't have guys like Andres from Hungary to reach out to, and then basically go from him to other people. But like, I know hearing cool music like that from guys like him, and just kind of gave me the motivation to go after other ones and try to find a good rock band in every country. And basically what I want to do with my podcast is kind of make networks all across the world with all sorts of different people, with all sorts of different things. I don't want to corner myself into one thing. That's why like I had Ariel Helwani on that last show, and now I'm having somebody who's more driven towards the music side of things. And I've been involved with many different industries, and I love many different things. And I think having something like this or a radio show, it's so important for whatever you're trying to promote.
Well, you know, we've had some philosophical differences in the past, but, you know, I'm always here to be in your corner and to support you. And if I can help you in any way I can, I gladly will. I've done it in the past.
Of course.
You know, I'd like to throw the word mentor around when I talk about you.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
And I'm really proud of you
and I thank you for everything you've done for me, because like I wouldn't be where I am for sure without all the guidance and everything from you.
Well, I appreciate
what got you what let's go backwards a little bit. What got you into music originally?
Well, by default, my parents, when I was 5 years old and I didn't have any choice, I was enrolled in piano lessons from 5 to 14, and I hated it.
Yeah.
But what happened when I was 12, I was asked if I wanted to take guitar lessons. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And what really happened is that I went for the first couple lessons at a mall in Mississauga, the Erin Mills Town Center, and they had a music store there. And I had the coolest teacher. He was young, like about
Yeah.
22, 23 in university for music. He was young, which was great. He was cool, which was awesome. He had the right personality. You can be a great musician, but if you don't have the right personality for teaching music, then it's not good. He knew his stuff, and he never, and this is important, he never talked to me like a stupid little 12-year-old child. So that was a big thing, and I learned a lot from him, both as a student and then eventually to become a teacher. I always kind of hold him in my heart. I always think about him as a teacher because that's what I wanted to be, and be even better than him as a teacher. He was a great guitar player. I don't know if I can be as good as him because I think he was really great. But having the right teacher teach you the right lesson is important. You know, because
Right.
if you have the right lesson taught to you by the wrong teacher, it still kind of stinks, even if the information is good. But he had the personality, he had the knowledge, he knew how to deal with people, and he made things fun, and that's the key right there. So when I was 12, I had already been playing piano for about 7 years, if I can do the math, and I hated it. But I was at the right age where I just wanted to rock, and nothing says rock like a guitar. So while I was taking guitar lessons, I was learning, you know, how to play chords, how to play chords to a metronome and switch in time and stuff like that. But then he taught me how to play a couple power chords, and that's when things really took off for me, because then I realized I can play guitar all over the fret. And once I realized that, I started writing my own songs. I started writing my own songs because I couldn't figure out how to play covers very well, and they were hard. And then when I wrote my first riff ever, which I could still remember, I actually have a guitar here. I should probably play it, but yeah, too much work. But it was just so satisfying. And at an early age, I realized at 12, I didn't want to play covers very much anymore because one, I don't seem to play them very well, and two, I just discovered how awesome songwriting is. Like what the beautiful thing about that riff, and you know, it wasn't anything spectacular. But, you know, for a 12-year-old kid, it was, but it came from my heart. Like that was my piece of music. It wasn't
Right.
Stone Temple Pilots, who I idolized as a 12-year-old kid. It wasn't Pantera, who I also idolized as a 12-year-old kid and a grown man. It was from me, and it was just so satisfying. So that's kind of what set me on the path to become a songwriter. At the age of 12, I developed my own ear training exercises, and I developed my ear perfect pitch, so I can tell if you honk the horn on in your
Yeah.
car, assuming you have one, Aaron. I'll tell you what key that is. When you microwave your chicken dinner from Hungry Man or whatever, I can tell you the pitch of the microwave. You
That's
know, when you turn it
incredible.
on, it's like. I should be able to tell
What
you
pitch is this? What pitch is this?
Go for it. I hear a D sharp. There's a couple
D.
different tones in there, but the most prominent one I heard was D sharp.
D sharp.
Which should be my nickname because I'm D and I'm sharp. Get it? Corny joke. But yeah, so I started writing songs at 12. When I developed my ear training exercise, I showed this to my teacher, the cool guy, and he was blown away. And he told me something that I always remembered and always took to heart. He's like, you know, most kids might want to learn a Nirvana song or two to impress their friends and their little girlfriends, but I like you because you actually want to learn stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, because I wanted to be, you know, his best student, and I really liked this guy, and we had the connection too, which hurt a lot when he left the school, for the lack of a better term. It was more of a store. I had no idea he was leaving, and just one day he was gone, and it was devastating because I held him in such high regard. Like, I liked this guy so much. I wish we were lifelong friends. I wish that I know this guy right now, and we'd go out and have a drink and discuss teaching. That's you know, and all the teachers I had after that, they were okay, but just I didn't click with any of them the way that I clicked with this one. So it's you know, years later, now that I'm a music teacher, I always try to keep that in mind. It's about the connection. Whether you're an artist or a teacher, no matter what you teach, you got to be able to connect to the student. You have to be knowledgeable. You have to be patient, but you have to have the ability to connect with the students. That's what I truly believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah. So Rock It Up. I'm going to go back to Rock It Up. So it started off as guitar lessons. Then I got this radio show, but then I realized that I need to branch out musically and also start offering a couple other instruments. Piano is a big one for parents because it's such a sophisticated instrument. Yes, I said sophisticated. And, so I have a piano background. Why not use it? I needed to develop my skills a little bit more and dust off a lot of the previous knowledge that I had as a child. But then I started doing piano lessons. Then my girlfriend, who later became my fiance and then later became my wife, bought me a ukulele. And because of the ukulele, I've literally been into a dozen elementary schools across Ontario, teaching group lessons. And because of my background in these schools, I got hired to into a couple private schools. So, it snowballed. The radio show snowballed into something completely different than the school. Because originally I wanted to, two different parts of the company. Rocket Up was an in-home musical school
I
and
remember that.
entertainment.
Yeah.
But it just got a little too confusing. I felt like I was dealing with musical schizophrenia. So I'm proud to tell you that the school part of Rocket Up no longer exists because it morphed into Dandelions Music and Art, a business that I started this year or rebranded this year with my wife, who's an art teacher. I met her on tour in Spain with Stone River, and she lives here.
That's
but
incredible.
The radio show, it's just taken a life of its own, and I love both things. I love being a teacher. I love being a radio show host, and it's about the connecting with my students, connecting with worldwide rock and roll fans. A lot of people have Rocket Up shirts. You should have had one a while ago. I apologize. They're costly.
Yeah, how does it feel? How does it feel to see how far you've come? Like, even since I've stopped doing my radio show, and like just how things have you've kept growing your network, you've kept growing fans, people wearing shirts all over the world, posting pictures on Facebook, tagging you about how you're this absolutely amazing guy who shows people all sorts of cool new music, which regular radio isn't doing.
Well, it's very satisfying to plant the seed and watch the figurative tree grow. It's really satisfying, and anything. I'm always looking for personal growth. If you first start out, working out, 16 years old, weigh 110 pounds, soaking wet with a brick in your hand, you start lifting weights, and then one day you realize you put on 10 pounds of muscle. That's amazing. I'm just a big fan of growth and maturity. So when I look back over the last 10 years of life, I see where I used to be working in a truck to, being some guy who's been all over the place with his music. We did a European tour, Stone River.
What was it like playing over there in Europe? Obviously, aside from meeting your wife,
it was the best.
What were some takeaways from playing in Europe?
Meeting a lot of great people. Seeing a lot of interesting landscapes, going to France, it was beautiful, the scenery there, Germany, Spain, just these wonderful people. And again, it's about the connection because, we touched their hearts with music, and to see a crowd of unknown people. One thing about Spain is that some of them, they don't speak the language. Not just Spain, but other countries too. But I'll use Spain. But like my wife learned English from rock and roll lyrics. So some of these people, they can
wow,
they can chant the lyrics back to, I don't know, Soundgarden or Aerosmith or whatever it is, but they don't really speak English. But yet the music still touches their hearts. I remember the last time I was in Spain, I was jamming with an incredible drummer and an incredible guitar player, a friend of mine, and the drummer doesn't speak English at all, and I don't speak very. I speak very poor Spanish, but we got the chance to rock some 90s songs from Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, and the language that we shared together was music, 90s rock.
Right.
And we gave each other a big hug, and
that's
it was
incredible.
So much fun. We're Facebook
awesome.
friends. He sent me a CD of his band from Spain, and it's about the connection. So going back to the tour, it was great to meet all these wonderful people. And, I'm still interacting with them 5-6 years later because the connection is there. We have a strong connection. And some of these people have won some of my contests and have some of my T-shirts. And, man, it's been great. It's been a wild ride. And, yeah,
How was the last year? Has the last year affected? Obviously, you said you and Leticia started a company. Well, has it affected? Has the pandemic affected things at all for you guys, or
Oh yeah.
have you resorted to doing like video stuff, or what are you doing now to?
Well, I was thinking about getting into the wonderful world of panhandling, begging for quarters at the side of the 403. But I thought, you know what? Before I do that, maybe I should readjust my business model. So what we started to do this year was doing online lessons,
Right.
which I flirted with that idea a couple of years ago, but I never really wanted to do it because I like being in people's homes, which I still like more so than online lessons. But with the pandemic, I had to readjust things and find a way to operate in a different way.
Right.
So that affected things a little bit. Online lessons aren't quite as cool as in-home lessons, but there's pros about that as well too. Like I don't have to drive to people's homes. I got into an accident on the 403 a couple of years ago with my car, and it could have been a fatal one. So I avoid all that on icy roads and stuff like that, or just bad traffic. So,
And I've been in a car with you before, so I mean,
oh yeah, then I'm a terrible driver. Okay, well, yeah. Anyways, yeah. So there's that. People are a little bit more conservative with their money, I find, which means that,
As our friends in Otis would say, it's a tough. Well, I guess John Brim. It's tough times right now for I think for everybody. And
yeah,
if
sometimes.
I think right now, if you're just willing to adapt with things and kind of do what you can to do your part is really all you can do right now, right?
Well, I'll talk a little bit about the pandemic. So it hurt my finances a little bit over
Mm-hmm.
here because before it started, I was on fire with students and attracting a lot of new students. I hate the word clients, but then a bunch of them dropped off. Like they just ghosted me or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't want to do online lessons or whatever, and I haven't heard from them. So then that took a hit, and then I rebuilt. It over the summer, got quite a few students. Almost caught myself saying the word clients, and then again, now people aren't feeling safe to have me in their homes, and they don't like online lessons because there is, if there's poor internet connection, it affects the quality of the lesson, of course,
Right.
and there's lagging time, and also just, I don't mean to be arrogant about this, but I like to think I'm a pretty charismatic person, and that doesn't come across a screen as much as me being in person. I
Absolutely.
can't virtually high five a small child. I can't virtually give a sticker to a 7-year-old girl. There's certain things about it, and it's a little bit harder. Like when I'm there in person, to actually give them exercises. For some reason, it's a little bit easier. So that's the thing with that.
Mm-hmm.
But what can you do? I don't really worry about myself too much. I'm worried about that waitress that lost her livelihood, or that bartender, or some other people who worked on a cruise ship, and that's the way that they made their living. And now all of a sudden, it's just
It's
say
gone
sayonara.
forever.
It's gone. It
Yeah.
might be gone forever. I don't know if
Yeah.
cruise ships are coming back. I don't know if buffets will ever come
Well,
back.
Chris Jericho's doing his cruise. That's about it.
The great super spreader event. Yes, Chris Jericho, my hero. Disappointment.
I think a
A
lot
lot
of
of
people's
disappointment.
hero, and yeah.
Right. So I mean that's the thing, right? So it's tough. It's tough times, as you said, for everybody. I'm just grateful that I'm one of the lucky ones that are still able to find a way to put money in my pocket. I think the
Yeah.
thing with the pandemic is that this could be an opportunity for you to experience growth and maturity. People in this country, we were paid to stay home by the government. And you could have, sat at home, blown bong hits all day and watched 3 movies back to back to back and play a
Yeah.
bunch of video games. You could have done that, which I would have not recommended to anybody. Or you could have maybe, used the time wisely to pick up a new skill. If you don't know how to cook, maybe this is your time to learn. Making a stir fry isn't the hardest thing in the world to do. Making, even something as cool as your own French fries or chicken nuggets. I swear to
Yeah.
you, it's very easy to do. If you never learned how to cook, this is your time. If you had books on your shelf that you've never read and you've had it for 20 years and you kept looking at it and you wanted to read it, whether it be a self-help book or that, how to cook book that you should have read, or whatever, maybe it was that Count of Monte Cristo 900 pages long and you just never bothered to read. You could have used the time wisely to benefit and better better yourself. So that's the sucky thing about the pandemic is that we haven't been able to visit friends really much and go to concerts and sporting events. I get you. I'm a musician. I play concerts, or I did. But what can you do, man? The world is
You
sick, and it's going to take some time for you to heal. But
just gotta
this
learn to
could.
adapt and overcome.
Well, as a musician, I think that this could challenge your creativity, and not even in a musical sense. As a musician, the obvious answer is write more songs, practice your guitar or keyboard or whatever, practice different scales, practice different techniques. Yes, you should do that. But what
Yeah.
about learning about promotion? What about learning about the many roles in the music industry, like the industry professionals that you might
Yeah.
need to hire? Like, what does a booking agent do? If you didn't know anything about this, this was the time for you to get educated. You don't know what a manager does.
Which
You
is
should
why I
learn.
wish you would record your radio shows, because I've listened in on days where I just listen to you go off about something or talk about something to a band, and I can see the band just listening there, and either they're going to take what you're saying and use it, or it's just going right through them. But I know every time you say something to somebody, uh, it's got a lot of like you got a lot of education into the side of promotions and how bands should be promoting in terms of radio trackers, other sides of management, and all sorts of things like that. So I think you have
Well,
an upper hand with on a lot of people in that sense, and you have a lot of knowledge.
well, the knowledge came from monkeying things up. I don't know how many of life's banana peels I've slipped on over the last many years. And what's the definition of insanity? Have you ever
Mhm.
heard this? Is doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting different results. So I've really been very analytical over the last 5 or 6 years, really closely examining some of my strategies that have worked, some of them that have been duds, and the ones that worked, well, do more of the good stuff and do less of the bad stuff.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And every day I wake up and I look at the day as another opportunity to better myself. Can I do things better? Can I learn a little bit more? So I realized that with competition, sometimes I've looked at other musicians and thought, yeah, I want to do better than them or
Mhm.
whatever. But now I realize that who I should really be competing is the Darren of yesteryear. Am I a better musician than I was 5 years ago? I'd like to think so. Am I, a better businessman than 5 years ago? I'd like to think so. Am I a nicer person than I was 5 years ago? I'd like to think so. You know, do, do I have more confidence now than 5 years ago? I'd like to think so. So, you know, the pandemic, I think, should have challenged people to, learn and grow, and that's what I'm really interested in. Learning and growing and doing and living a fun life. And I don't care about money too much. I mean, I need money to pay the bills, but I just want to have fun. I want to be happy.
Yeah.
I want to be extremely wealthy when it comes to happiness. And I know
Yeah.
you're a happy person too. I'm sure you feel the same way as me. Yeah, I know you're not a very
Absolutely. Yeah.
money-minded person, although you're very
We
entrepreneurial.
were talking. We were talking about it earlier. How we have very similar views, and I think how we are both very similar people for sure.
Similar yet different, which is
Yeah.
great because you
Yeah.
don't have to always hang out with people who are the exact same carbon
Oh,
copy
absolutely.
clone,
No, you don't. You
right?
don't want to be with somebody who's. Yeah. Absolutely. I think,
Yeah.
and that's why our friendships definitely lasted so long.
Oh, you're a
Well,
very, very
over
special friend of mine.
over your
Very special.
career and your lifetime, what would you say is the best memory or best thing that's happened to you in the music industry? Would you say,
Well, music has been very good to
other than
me.
meeting me?
Well, okay, yeah, that's up there. That is up there for sure. Music has been good to me. I've seen about 5 or 6 different countries of the
Hmm.
world because of music. I literally met my wife not just in another country, but on a
Hmm.
different continent. That was one of the best things that ever happened to me. That is for sure.
Hmm.
I've met a lot of great people. I played a lot of great festivals. I've heard my song on a few legit radio stations, big radio stations.
That
That's
feels good.
a lot of yeah. That's very satisfying to hear your art get out there. And I've made friends from people who've listened to my song on the radio, and I'm still friends with these people now. That's how they found me.
That's
Was
incredible.
yeah. So a lot of great memories. Interviewed a lot of great musicians. Been on a few tour buses. Got a chance to hang out with heroes of mine since I was a kid,
Hmm.
and have a beer with them and other fun stuff. I'll keep it PG.
Yeah.
And yeah, so at the end of the day, I always tell myself, don't get bitter. It's very easy to get bitter, but for me personally, I have a lot of pleasant memories, and I don't want to look into the past so much. If I do look into the past, it's to closely examine where I went wrong.
Do you want to know
So
what
that
mine is? And this might catch
go
you
for
by
it.
surprise.
Yes,
You may
go ahead.
think I'm going to say something else and go a certain way, which you probably don't want me to say. But
No, go for it. Go for it.
it was actually Canadian Music Week, the week that we got to spend it with each other. Do you remember that?
I shouldn't remember it because of how much
Jim
Jim
Beam.
Beam I drank
Yes.
and got
So
sick and green, but I do remember it, and it was a lot of fun. I
for
remember
those of you
watching Full
listening in,
House.
I'll give you a little bit of a background story on that. So I won this sweepstakes. There was a thing online. It was during when I was doing my radio show. Like, I don't know where I got the luck from, but they were doing a sweepstakes anyways, and they wanted to know what you wanted to do for Canadian Music Week in Toronto. And I seen that they were running a concert with Scott Weiland and the Wildabouts. That was their party for the week, and so I commented that I wanted to go see them that week during the show, and ended up winning the contest. So the contest, I won a flight out to Toronto from Sarnia, which was totally unneeded. I could have drove, I could have got a ride. There's definitely other ways to do it, but Jim Beam was going to pay for it, so I wasn't saying no. And they gave me basically a free pass to all of Canadian Music Week, a bunch of bottles of Jim Beam, which me and Darren absolutely had no problem with taking care of.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that though, because we ended up going to that concert, the Scott Weiland concert, but before I won this sweepstakes, I was already coming, I believe, for the week to hang out with you, and I had bought tickets for us to go see Rival Sons because they were one of my favorite bands at the time. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to go see them. I was set on seeing them, but that show was the same night. So, and we had an open bar at the Scott Weiland show. So we ended up, do you remember that? We ended up going to the Mod Club, rest in peace, the Mod Club. We ended up going there, and we got an open bar. They told us as soon as we got there that we got an open bar. We ended up sneaking in Texas Dynamite.
Oh, do you remember? No, at this point, things were really fuzzy.
we ended up sneaking in.
I took a cab back to.
Not at this point, nope. So we ended up doing the open bar. That's probably where we got fuzzy. Before we left, I did get to say hi to Scott Weiland's bass player. We were supposed to go meet Scott, and that was supposed to be the prize of the week. And like that was.
I remember not wanting to meet him because
that was me too, because of the Rival Sons. I wanted to go see the Rival Sons, so we ended up, me and you, we took a cab to the Rival Sons first. I don't even think you got inside. You might have got inside, but you ended up
taking. I went to go get something to eat, I believe.
You went and got a sausage out front.
I did. See, I don't remember that. But then
then you went and took a cab back right away right after your sausage, because I remember, I think I didn't last very long at that concert either because of the Mod Club and that night there. But I mean, that was probably one of the funnest weeks I had in a long time, because whether it was that or at 4:30 in the morning running into John Lennon's son outside of the Horseshoe Tavern.
Yes, I remember you telling me about
those. Those are things I'm never gonna forget. Like the Horseshoe Tavern, seeing the owner do a headstand on his head at 4 a.m. in the morning. Absolutely. Just those are things that like I honestly don't think I'll ever forget. And that's probably one of my favorite music memories. And I think a lot of it was getting to spend it with you and enjoying that. And I just want to say thanks for everything you've done for me.
And vice versa.
I wouldn't be where I am definitely without Rock It Up. Shout out to Rock It Up. Just give the people a little bit of an idea of where they can find you at Rock It Up and yourself.
Okay, so yeah, I guess we should probably wrap this up. Thank you very much for letting me be the first guest on your podcast. I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you so much. And I do have some great guests lined up for the rest of the week and the month. For this week, or coming up anyways. They're not lined up. They're lined up, but we just don't have a date set yet. But they are going to be coming up on the show. Local boxer Caitlin Clark, former professional basketball player Joe Rocca is going to be joining me. And I plan on having UFC fighter Kevin Kroom on the show. and we're gonna have a whole bunch of other really cool guests as well. But before I let you go, Darren, tell the people where they can find you at, and thanks again so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. You can find Rocket Up Radio on Facebook. Okay, if you like cool, new, exciting rock music, I play international rock music from at least 18 different bands on 5 different continents. If you would be interested in learning a little bit about music and learning how to play an instrument, you can find Dandelions Music and Art also on Facebook and Instagram, both Rock It Up and Dandelions Music and Art is on Instagram. For some reason, if you would like to connect with me, just because I'm such an awesome person, feel free to add me on Facebook. And then somewhere in the very near future, I'm going to be releasing some new music. And when the time is right, you can find me on that page, which I shouldn't talk about too much.
New music, Darren Flower, or are you going to be a new band?
Well, you already know the answer to that.
Well, I'm playing. I'm obviously not playing smart here.
Yes, it's with a new band, and we're going to carry on with the classic rock revival sound.
That's amazing.
And I'm excited to show it to everybody, and I'm excited to become a performer again because I haven't done this in 6 years' time, and a lot has changed. And yeah, a lot has changed in the industry. So yeah, looking forward.
What's the goal?
The goal?
The goal to go tour Europe again when it's obviously that's a thing again, or is you just want to write music and get some stuff out there for people to listen to?
Oh, the goal is to take it as far as we possibly can and make a living off it. Like I think any musician who puts himself out there, I think that's what their goal is, and that's what my goal is. But really, my overall big picture is I just want to be happy, have fun living life, and doing on my terms. So that's what Dandelions Music and Art helps me do. I'm my own boss. I can't be fired. I can give myself a pay raise anytime I want, and I love what I do. And yeah, and I like getting paid reasonably well. So win, 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 win.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much for having me, my friend.
No, Darren, thank you. I appreciate it so much. I hope we can do this again. This is only episode number 1. I plan on doing this for a long time, so hopefully we can have you on again down the road and we can talk about some other stuff. Maybe we can even do a release for your band, your new band on the show. We can play one of your songs and talk about the new release. That would be awesome to do.
I would really like that.
Yeah, man. There's lots of possibilities down the line. So I hope you take care. I know you've been in lockdown already for 28 days, and they just put another 28 days on us. If there's anything that you need, don't be scared to reach out. You know I'm always here for you. I appreciate everything you've done for me. I love you like a brother.
Thank you.
And thanks again so much for joining me today, man.
Take care, and let's both have a great 2021. Okay?
Absolutely. Take care. Thank you so much, Darren. All right, so that was Darren Flower joining me for the first ever episode of the Chem Valley Show. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Like and subscribe on YouTube and share it with somebody. That would be awesome. I totally appreciate it. I'll be back again with another episode tomorrow. Have a great day.